everyone. Welcome back to Find Me in a Book podcast, where we talk about all different types of romance books with someone who has never read a romance book.
Nope. I'm
Still
still
haven't.
learning how to read.
Still learning.
It's a tough struggle. Hooked on Phonics can only do so much.
That's true. How are you? I haven't seen you all day. You just literally walked through the door.
I literally did. I walked in. I brought your phone up. It's recording.
It's recording.
Here I am.
We haven't even said a whole sentence to each other since you got home.
Nope. I was like, this good? This we said? All right.
And
we're
I said,
rolling.
okay, let's go. That's how our relationship is. Just kidding.
It's just one of those days. This is not typical. It's just one of those days.
Even though we usually call each other a couple times during the day, but today I feel like you only called me once. I think you only called me once, right?
No, I called you twice.
Oh. Well, twice is okay.
You claimed that you texted me back, and
I
you
did. I
did
can
not.
show you.
You did not.
Well, even though it was a busy day for the husband, he had a really good day. That's what he was telling me.
It was a really good day.
Which is good. It is a Monday. So I actually haven't read a lot this week.
Shame, you know your name.
I know. I don't know what it was, but I just didn't feel like reading a lot. I did read, but just not my usual.
I only read 3 books last week, so I really wasn't feeling it, you know.
I read one whole book, and then I read 5 chapters of 2 other books.
Ask me how many books I've read.
How many books have you read? No? Okay.
That's how many books I've read.
Well, I know, because I don't see you reading. The book that I did read, though, was Full Measures by Rebecca Yarros. And I saw it at Barnes & Noble the other day. And I did read the In the Likely Event by Rebecca Yarros, which released this year. And I absolutely loved it. So when I saw this one, I was like, I should really start reading her older stuff. Because have you heard of Fourth Wing?
No. Why would I have heard of Fourth Wing?
Because it just took over the whole industry.
Of books?
Yes.
I read?
It's bigger than Twilight.
What?
Yes.
Okay, when it has a movie, I will believe it's bigger than Twilight.
Well, there could be talks. I don't know. But I kind of hope that there's not a movie, unless it's huge production, huge, crazy big, because I don't think a movie could do it justice. But the second book is coming out in less than a month. And yeah, it's way bigger than Twilight. It's just taken everything by storm. So that's the author. And so I read, that other book. And then this one is the beginning of a series, I guess. And I was sobbing, the first couple chapters. And I...
happy sobbing?
No, it was sad already. Okay. And I had to look it up because... her previous book, In the Likely Event, had some military aspects in it as well, and so did this one. And so I was like, she's got to have some military in her family or something. And her spouse, in 2014 when she wrote this book, her spouse had already deployed 4 times.
Wait, are we talking about the
Rebecca
real life
Yarros.
Person, or
Yes.
are we talking about a book person?
No, Rebecca Yarros is the author.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if we
That's
were
okay.
already into the book or not.
No.
It's a real life person whose husband got deployed 4 times.
Yes, and that was only in 2014. So I'm wondering if he's been deployed more. But I think obviously that's probably why she has wrote a lot of military romances. And my sister, her husband is in the military and is getting deployed, I think, next year. And this will be his 3rd time. And so I was like, Chanel, you have to read this book. And that's why she replied and was like, I sobbed through all of it. Oh, I'm so sorry. But also these books are really, really good. So I highly recommend picking up any of Rebecca Yarros' books because they have been so solid. So that's kind of an update on my week with reading, just like that one book. And then the other books that we're going to talk about is going to be later in the episode because they got me thinking about Reverse Harems, which is what we're going to be talking about today.
Okay, I know what a harem is, which is I think of a sultan with a bunch of concubines and wives. Yeah. Is a reverse harem a woman with a bunch of male concubines and husbands? And
I didn't realize that we didn't talk about this in our trope list. In episode, what was it where we talked about all the tropes? It was 93, I think.
Maybe.
But it was the list of all the romance tropes, and I went and looked, and Reverse Harem was not on that list, so we didn't talk about it. but you are correct.
Oh, good. Now we can unpack this genre of romance books, a reverse harem. As someone who doesn't read romance books, I can tell you right now that reverse harem would absolutely be something I am not interested in reading about.
I agree with you. And it's been hard for me too, which we're going to talk about.
Talk about a sausage fest. Okay.
It really is. So we're going to talk about the phrase reverse harem. So a lot of times people refer to it as reverse harem, RH, or why choose. Like WHY, like why choose? Like why choose just one person?
Why choose? Have them all.
Exactly. So those are a couple of the terms that people use to describe it or to like reference it. And I have found with like what I've been looking at with reverse harems is they go right along with dark romances too. When it's a dark romance, do you know?
I can already tell that this is going to be a rough episode for me.
I'm
buckling in. I am ready for everything you were about to tell me.
I know. I have a hard time with dark romances, I have realized.
What is a dark romance?
It's like when there's aspects of darkness. I don't know.
Oh, darkness. So they just turn out the lights.
They do. No,
so we have a dark romance.
Oh
when we turn off the lights and dark romance.
Oh, you're so funny.
I am funny. What is a dark romance?
I'm trying to explain it. It's like when there's not a lot of like happy-go-lucky things happening. Like she could be kidnapped and fall in love with her captors, or like stalking, or like I'm not explaining this very well.
As
it's
a
just
romance?
like it just has dark aspects. Like
I think they describe those as like
or
serial killers or something. They just take away the killing and replace it with lovemaking or
yeah.
Is it forcible?
No.
Love stuff?
No.
Okay.
I don't think so. But
That doesn't
there
sound like a
usually
dark
are a
romance.
lot of trigger warnings with like dark romances because it's just like on the line where you're like, is this morally wrong? Like, am I okay reading this? Like, I feel weird reading. Like, I don't know. I honestly, people are probably like yelling at me, like, that's not a dark romance. But I don't know how else to explain it. Like,
is it like BDSM stuff? Like
yeah,
a bunch of like
it could be. Yeah.
Like would 50 Shades of Grey be considered a dark romance?
I haven't read 50 Shades of Grey, but I think
tell
so.
Your listeners that
I think it would be considered that. Like, it's just like when there's dark and dreary things happening, but then a love story happens in it. Like, think of like.
So if Dracula was busy, no.
Yeah,
I don't
no,
even know how to set
that's
that up.
like Vampire Diaries.
Oh, so like
that's
Nightmare
a dark
Before
romance.
Christmas.
Yeah, that yeah, because he's kind of doing like evil things, or
yeah, he's doing bad things, but Sally's in love with him, but he doesn't really notice her like that.
Yeah, like he could be a villain, and like there would be a romance, like morally gray things.
It's like the Lion King 3.
Yeah, I guess.
Well, because he's a bad guy. In this,
yeah.
You
like
know
falling
what?
in love with like the enemy's son.
If you
like
don't
like
pay
Mafia.
attention to what I just said.
Mafia are dark romances. Like when they include like things like that. Or like drug dealer type things. Like, you know what I'm saying? Where it's like they're doing
things
really
that
wrong
are morally
things.
reprehensible attached with romance.
Yeah. That could be. I know people are probably yelling at me. I'm sorry. That's the thing. I'm not very well versed in dark romances.
Put in the comments below what a dark romance is to you.
Yeah, and also explain to me what it is because that would be great.
Or don't, because you'll probably shell shock her.
I know, probably. Also, I found that reverse harems usually are like a subgenre of fantasy. They seem to go along with that because a lot of the times there's these bonds between like the men and the female. And so it kind of gives a supernatural feeling to it because it doesn't really happen it does happen in real life. I take that back. But it's like there's nothing like pulling them to the girl. You know what I'm saying? Like bonding them all together, like and also with reverse harems, it's usually like one female character that's usually in like a sexual relationship with more than one man. And I did learn that a reverse harem is typically 3 or more men.
Not 2.
I don't know what 2 is.
It has to be 3 or more.
I guess so. That's what was
there's
explained to me.
There's 1 and 2, and then there's reverse harem.
Then there's reverse harem. So yeah, I don't know what 2 is. It still could be a reverse harem. I don't know.
I think it's just called a threesome.
Polygamy?
No.
Just kidding. Threesome. Yeah, it could be a threesome. And sometimes in this genre, swords cross. Do you know what that means?
I imagine it's like when the penises crisscross each other.
They might touch.
Yep.
Because the 2 males might be into each other.
Yeah.
So it could be an MMF, which is a male, female, meaning that the 2 males could be together, and then the 2 males could be with the female. But that's not a reverse harem. That's
just a threesome.
True. So it could be a MMMF.
Yep.
So they're all very fluid with each other.
Ew, don't say fluid in that situation.
Okay.
Oh.
The books.
I mean, look, to each their own.
That's right. We're not here to yuck someone's yum.
It's not my disposition.
It is not mine either. That's what I have found out. Sometimes, which we're going to talk about this, I have accidentally read reverse harems. I have never willingly seeked out a reverse harem book.
You've just fallen into reverse harems.
And I'm like, oh, okay, this is okay. And so I've kept reading.
Ironically, that's how the main characters come into reverse harems too. They just fall right into it without knowing.
They might, yeah. A lot of them, yeah. And the ones that I have read, when they're one-off books, I have found that the character development lacks because they're trying to get everything into one book about all these different characters. They're usually multiple point of views, which gets kind of confusing because it's oh, well, then who's this guy? Oh, that's another guy. Oh, then who's this guy? It gets
Pictures would help. Pictures would help.
It would help. So I like when it's just the female point of view, but most of the time reverse harems are multiple point of view. What I didn't talk about how I thought of this episode is because we went to dinner with the husband's family and I met his cousin and I heard that she likes romance books. So I was like, obviously I need to talk to her about these. And so we were talking about them and I was like, what kind of trope do you like? Because I feel like that's a good kind of entrance into talking about romance books. Just to, right?
Yeah. No, it's fine. I'm listening. I'm intrigued. Okay. I'm intrigued right now because I don't.
And she was like, oh, I really like reverse harems.
My cousin said she liked reverse
Your
harems.
cousin did. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, that's a genre that I'm not super familiar with.
I learn things about my family all the time.
You do. So I told her okay, well, if this is your favorite, I'm open for recommendations. What should I read? And she recommended one of the books that we are going to talk about today. And I don't know what to think of your cousin anymore. I mean, I had just barely met her anyways, but now reading, I got about 5 chapters in the first one. She said that I have to read this first one to really understand kind of what's happening, but to read the second one because that one's even better.
And for this reason, I'm out.
Yeah.
Right? You read that and you're like, and I'm done.
Yeah. Well, I gave it a chance. I feel like 5 chapters is a good chance, right?
What happened in 5 chapters that made you go, this is not for me?
All of it. Okay, so we're going to talk about it. It's called Baby and the Late Night Howlers by Catherine Moon.
Baby.
That's her name. That's her real name is Baby.
Catherine Moon?
No, the character's name is Baby.
Not a nickname or something?
Nope, don't put Baby in the corner. Nope, it's her actual name is Baby.
Parents have a weird way of picking names for their kids.
I know. They really do. And
this girl has no chance
she doesn't.
At a normal life, which makes sense that she fell into a reverse harem.
She really doesn't have a normal life in this. So
probably not.
It was kind of hard to understand at first because I don't know if there is a book even previous to this one, but I feel like not a lot of explanation went into how this world is set up. I did read kind of the prologue, and it said this is an alternate universe and it's not supernatural or fantasy. So it's it's happening in contemporary real life, but it's just alternate reality.
See, that seems strange to me for books because if I read something, I want something that's not everyday life. Yeah. This feels like everyday life, this is an alternate reality where it's everything that's happening right now, but I'm just gonna add in these extra little details.
Yeah, I agree. But
I read something, I want something fantastical.
And maybe it will explain more in the book, like later in the book. But
that you're not going to read.
I'm not going to read. But what I gathered is that this is a world where they have alphas, and they're like the main, like they're business people. Everyone listens to them. They're very powerful people.
So is it like a caste system or something?
It is, yeah. But it's all, it gives me very much werewolf vibes without actually turning into werewolves. So they have like their pack, like people have packs, but they go off of like pheromones and scents. So there's alphas and there's betas and there's omegas. So there could be multiple alphas in a pack, and then each like alpha can choose to have a beta. But omegas, I guess, are super rare, and they kind of bring the packs all together. So every pack wants an omega, but because they're very rare, like they don't really get one unless
is it like a personality type? Is that what they're
kind of? It's pheromones. It's their scent.
Okay.
So this girl, like she's 26. She's always thought of herself as a beta because that's how she felt. And then all of a sudden, when she goes in this bar with her friend, like it says that she blossoms. Like her scent and pheromones blossom. And so all the betas and alphas that are there, they're like, oh my gosh, it's an omega. Like they can tell. And so one guy, this beta comes in and he's like, let's get you to the omega center because it is so rare. Like they have to go to this center. And so he drops her off, and then the people there help her like figure out what to do next.
And this isn't a supernatural or a fantasy, because it sounds very fantasy-esque right now.
Because it's very much like werewolves without the actual turning into werewolves. That's what it reminded me of a lot.
All right.
And so they have to find her a pack before she goes into heat. I know.
Are you sure this isn't a book about dogs? Everything you're describing right now is just like
That's
a dog.
why I was so confused. I'm like, okay, when are they going to change
What's the name of this
werewolves?
author? Is it Caesar Milan?
No, Catherine Moon.
Not Caesar Milan.
Moon. Her last name's Moon. She's a werewolf, but she didn't want to say that she's
I bet
a
it's
werewolf.
a pen name.
Oh, probably. So yeah, basically, she goes through this book of like packs that have a subscription with the Omega Center, and she smells their pheromones and scents. And she has to pick one which smells the best, which she does pick one, and it happens to be that guy that took her to the Omega Center. It happens to be his pack. And so they like go to this pack's place, which I guess they own a bar, they own a dispensary. It's an MC club, like motorcycle club.
This just feels like a train that's coming, and I can't get off the track, but keep going.
I know.
The train's
I'm right
about
there
to hit.
with you.
It's going to hit me in the face.
It is. So, yeah. So they take her to this MC place to meet all of them. And there's like 12 alphas, but she only...
There's 12?
Yes.
12?
I think 12. But she's only going to like bond with like 5 of them. 5 or 6.
Because that's more manageable than 12.
I know.
What does bond mean in this book? Sex? Like they have sex?
To make toast.
Bond, make toast?
But apparently their penises have a knot on them.
What the... Like a dog?
I don't know, JR. I didn't get that far.
Dogs have that.
I didn't get that far because I didn't want to go farther. So she's going to go through this heat, and basically they have to keep her like sexually like satisfied.
What?
I know. And that's where I was like, I think I'm out.
This is
like,
okay.
There's too many men.
This book is fine, but I refuse to believe that this is literature. This just sounds like a porno.
Oh, it's
which is
it's
fine.
100% smut. 100%.
It's like
it's definitely an acquired taste.
Yeah.
And definitely like, hey, people like dominance.
It's fine. You like dominance, but like,
it's not for us, which is fine. That's why I have a hard time reading it. I'm very much trying to just to see what it's about.
That'd be many.
I know.
Penises.
That's why I'm like, I can't even handle one husband.
That's right. You heard it first. She can't handle one husband.
And to think about having like 3 or 4, I would tap out. I'd be like, I'm just gonna go and stay in my room.
It's good to know. Well, that I where would you be if you weren't in your room?
Don't know.
Where's this taking place?
Well, everyone else can have a different room. I'm just gonna stay in my room.
Nope.
So, yeah, it's Alpha, Beta, and Omega. That's kind of the universe. And then the second one is called Lola and the Millionaires, and it's with Baby's best friend. And so far, I like it a lot better.
Is
not
it still
that
a reverse harem?
It is. Oh, definitely. And it's in that same universe. And because that universe is all about reverse harems and like having the pack and all that. And so I like it a little bit better, but I don't think I'm going to continue again.
What was the difference from that? Well, like, why do you like this book more than the other one?
Because this one is more, how do I say this? It's less trashy. Like, I'm just not a fan of like MC clubs and like the atmosphere.
You don't like Sons of Anarchy?
And I do like the show, but it's like, it's kind of trashy. Like, I have different...
Sons of Anarchy?
Yeah, they're trashy people.
Oh, yeah,
like,
they are. But there's drama. And
there's a
storyline that goes through, and it's not just...
I know, but that's the thing is that... and that sounds so pretentious of me. I understand that. But it's just, it's not my environment. It's not... I don't know anything about it. With Lola and the Millionaires... She works at like a fashion company and she does like makeup and she has like this career and it sounds like she goes through something really, really traumatic in like the Baby and the Late Night Howlers. It sounds like, because I think they kind of go over her situation in that book, but she was really, really traumatized by some alphas. And so she's going through a lot of like PTSD and a lot of like emotional type things in this. And so it's like,
I wonder what trauma she could have incurred from,
well, you can
alphas.
You can probably imagine.
Oh, can I?
Yeah.
Could you describe it to me? What kind of trauma?
There's trigger warnings in these books. So yeah, that one, it just seems, I don't know. I just like it better. And it seems like the characters, I'm learning more about the characters already in this book much faster than I did in the first book. And so it just overall seemed better. So I might continue maybe a couple more chapters. I don't know, but I'm very much on the edge of like not finishing. So
that's what she said.
Thank you. And then I went through TikTok and did the hashtag Reverse Harem Books. I didn't do just Reverse Harem because I learned my lesson.
Your TikTok feed is going to be filled with so many interesting things.
It is. I know. And I realize that. That's why it's my book TikTok and not my personal TikTok.
Gotcha.
But I did find out that a book that I have like kind of started, that it's a reverse harem, and I didn't know that. So the one that's been on my like TBR list, so my to be read list, is The Protector Guild by Gray Hallborn. And I've mentioned it on other podcast episodes, like this is on my list. I've kind of started it, but it popped up when people were talking about reverse harems. And I was like, oh my gosh, did I just like dodge a bullet? Like was I going to be like really surprised in this book to be like, oh, it's reverse harem? Because I always just assume going into a book that it's just like a one person, like two people relationship. And then I always get surprised and I'm like, oh my gosh, why is she sleeping with that guy?
Where did that guy come from?
Why
are there 3 guys? 5 guys?
I know. And it always surprises me. So I wanted to list out the ones that I have read. And there will be a couple familiar ones because I've talked about it. The first one was The Never King. It's a Peter Pan retelling.
Okay.
So basically she gets like kidnapped, or she wants to find Peter Pan.
She is in Wendy?
And
Wendy gets kidnapped?
Yeah, she's like an ancestor of Wendy, or like she's a like a
grandchild.
Yeah, like great grandchild or something like that.
Okay.
And so they know that
she's not a kid, right?
No, she's not. But
okay.
I guess every
Peter
year...
Pan's not a kid, right?
No,
okay.
They're not kids. No.
Just saying, it's Neverland and everyone's a child there except Captain Hook and his crew.
That's true. I guess
gotta set that premise first.
That's fair. I think when they turn like 18 or something, or 21, then each woman in her like family gets taken to like Neverland.
Yep.
And
yeah, that makes sense.
I think they come back, but they don't come back the same, obviously.
Nope, they don't.
And so she was planning on, like, she got taken, and then I think it's with like Peter Pan and like the Lost Boys. So I think there's like 3 of them. I don't know. I actually finished that book because it was really, really short. And I was like, okay, I'll just keep going. But I definitely didn't continue. That one is by Nikki St.Crowe. And then the one that I actually kept reading, and I actually read the whole series, was by Jaymin Eve. It's the Curse of the Gods series. There's 5 books. The first one is called Trickery. And that one was actually really interesting. But also, I really, really hated the main female character because she tripped. She was so clumsy. Like, Jaymin Eve made her so clumsy. It was so annoying. Like, very, very frustrating. And, like, these guys, like, they would help her, like, stay upright. And, like, this became her character.
I don't know what it is, but there is something about, like, writing about a clumsy female character that's just, like, I feel like they annoy everyone.
Yeah.
So I don't know why
I'm like,
can you
please just walk straight?
And I'm going to reveal a little more information about myself that people probably don't know, but I watch anime. Okay.
I feel like that's not a huge reveal.
It's not. It might have been a big letdown. But in anime, that happens all the time.
Really?
There's like a hyper-sexualized girl that is super clumsy or naive or all of the above.
That's how she is, yeah.
And so I think it's, I mean...
I don't get the appeal. Like, it's really annoying.
It is annoying, especially when you're watching it. Like, you kind of just want to, like, go with the story, but then, like, you know, she's, like, bouncing up and down on the cartoon. Right. I mean, it's, like, it's different for that, but, like, for a book, like, there's no visual appeal to it. So it's like, what's the point of writing a character that's clumsy?
Exactly. And really, like, she just seems really dumb, and, like, she makes dumb decisions.
Is it funny? Like, is she supposed to be the comic relief?
I guess so, but it's like...
But you didn't laugh?
No. And, like, I liked each of the different guys. That I think there were, like, 5 guys.
Sexist.
I know. Like, they were very strong. Like, they each had kind of their own personalities. But, yeah, they just kind of made her seem like this damsel in distress that was so, like, dumb and just not worth anything.
Do you not like damsel in distress books then?
No. I mean, I do, but I like when there's a strong, like, heroine. Like, female character. I like when they're smart.
Like,
when
the
they're
damsel
strong,
can be in trouble, but she can't be, like, an idiot.
Exactly. Like, when a guy says, hey, this is, like, I'm going to go and take care of this problem. Like, he's definitely the expert of this problem. And she's like, okay, I'll stay here. But then she sneaks out and tries to help him. I'm like, girl, stay in your lane. Like, stop it. Like, just stay there.
My queen, wait here for me. I have to go slay a dragon. Okay, I'll wait.
And then she goes and tries to help him.
I was trying to help you. What good are you going to do? Do you have a sword? Do you know how to fight? No.
Exactly.
The dragon's going to eat me. Should have stayed home.
And then she gets injured, and then they're all like, oh. And I'm like, should have stayed home.
It's your fault.
It is. That's very frustrating to me. The next one I have mentioned to you a couple times is the Den of Vipers.
Oh, I have.
That was the very first one where it was like my first time reading a book where all of them try to make toast with this lady. Like,
wait, was this a dark romance?
It is.
Was this the one that like you read and you had to stop because it was so upsetting?
No, that one is The Haunting of Adeline. That one was real. That one is a dark romance, but it's not a reverse. It's not a reverse harem. Okay. But this one has like, it has very similar vibes to it. And that one's by K.A. Knight, and that one's on a lot of people's like top list. Like, this is so good. I'm like, I am just not to that level. I'm just not to that level. The next one, I did read the first one of this because, again, I didn't know that it was a reverse harem, is Broken Bonds by J.Bree. There's 6 books in it, and that one is a fantasy book. And I want to say I liked it. I just didn't continue because I learned that it was a reverse harem, and I was like, I got other books I want to read. So that one is a fantasy, and that one I remember being good. And then we have Ensnared by Rebecca Quinn, which I did not continue on that. I knew that it was a reverse harem, and I was like, I'm going to give it a shot. Like, it's fine. And I didn't like it. Like, because, I mean, there's a couple reasons, but it's like post-apocalyptic, and they find her, they're like all these military guys that have created this kind of base in this mountain to help people. And so they find her and they're like, hey, in order for you to stay with us, basically we have to pass you around and you be the female. And like, but they give her a choice, like, if you want to stay here, this is what's going to happen. Yeah.
That's good.
So yeah,
consent.
that's right. And I said no. So I did not continue that one. You can, if I had a list of my did not finish, which is a DNF list, people say that. If I had a list, most of them would be reverse harems because I get real surprised. So yeah, those are the ones that I have read. And then I do have some recommendations that I'm going to put in the show notes below of the books that I found on a lot of people's lists, like going throughout TikTok. I'm just going to read like the title really quick, and then I'll have all the information down below.
And I'm going to give my knee-jerk reaction to every title.
Okay.
And I'm going to guess what it's about.
I also want you to think, because the last episode that we did, we kind of did like if we were to write a book about that, remember?
Okay.
Because we did like the age gap romance.
Yeah, I got you.
So think of things that we could, if we were to write a book for reverse harems. Yeah, so think on that.
I have nothing.
Okay, so while I go over these recommendations, the first one is Pucking Around, which that one's a sports hockey one. That one's very, very popular. There's Losers, which is an enemies to lovers. There's Second to the Right. There's Hate by Tate James, which is Mafia, I guess. And then Faking with Benefits by Lily Gold.
That one sounds good.
Okay.
I like the title of that one. Faking with Benefits.
Faking with Benefits. There's Kings of Chaos. There's the Sainthood. And then there's Carnage, which is a 4 Horseman series, which I'm actually kind of interested in because I did read a book or a series of the 4 Horsemen. It wasn't Reverse Harem. They each had their own separate women, which I like that storyline, the imagery of like the 4 Horsemen. Like I kind of like that storyline.
Drawing on Judeo-Christian.
Yeah, it's very
prophecy.
Interesting to me. And so I kind of want to pick up the first book. It's by Sara Bailey. I kind of want to pick up that first book just to see what it is. I don't know. I'm intrigued. So I thought of a little situation, not situation, I guess, but little story that we could build off of. So what if, don't give me that look.
I'm so excited.
You look so uncomfortable. And I just want, I say this in every episode, and JR said
couldn't we just do a normal harem instead? I feel like I can write better for that one.
Do you think that there are books out there that have like multiple women and one man?
Yeah.
Like
100%.
Do you think a lot of men read that? Like,
I don't know.
Is that kind of like a hidden...
I wouldn't say a lot of men. I know there's definitely men who would read that.
Yeah. I just wonder...
Because, it's called reverse harem. Also, the term reverse harem is kind of incorrect in a way.
Is it?
Yeah. Well, because, is the standard harem, everyone pictures like one man, a bunch of women. But to say reverse harem is like one woman, a bunch of men. But, it's still a harem. Like, reverse or not, it's still a harem.
But I guess people just associate the word harem with women.
Yeah, which is why I think a lot of guys probably do read harem books.
Okay. That would be interesting. I don't really want to research it, but it would be like...
No, research it. Think about it.
It would be interesting if there is like a subgenre or a category of men that read those types of books.
I know why men would like it. Men everyone likes being the center of attention.
There are a lot of men that read romance books, by the way.
I'm not saying
I know
there aren't. But the harem book or the harem genre probably centers around the idea of just you picturing yourself as the main character because deep down everyone's narcissistic. Everyone likes to talk about themselves. Everyone's about them. But if a woman was reading just a normal harem book, makes me wonder if do they side with a specific woman and they read about that girl and they kind of root for her throughout it, or do they somehow identify as, or not identify, but do they somehow relate with the guy in the middle or relate with one of the women? I don't know, because I imagine me reading a reverse harem book and just
maybe it depends on their sexuality too. Maybe if someone is bisexual, they do like to see the women and
I feel
the
like
men.
bisexual people would have more fun with harem books, reverse or otherwise.
That's fair. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. There's something for everyone. Okay, so the situation, I just like thought of it like 10 minutes ago. So that's why I
You
like
thought of
want to
this
build
story
on it.
10 minutes ago.
I know. Well, I was trying to think of like, okay, if we were to write a book about like with reverse harem, what would it be? So I was thinking of this girl that she's with her friends on vacation in like Ibiza or something,
Okay.
and they get kidnapped by like insurgents or something, and like SEAL
Ibiza's
Team
in the Middle
6,
East, right?
I think so.
That's what you're referencing?
I guess I don't know some foreign place.
just picked-
Mexico,
You
Canada.
just picked a random city called Ibiza.
Well, it's just because people vacation there a lot with
Okay.
their friends.
Okay, that's fair.
So picture something like that. So like a different country than even in the U.S. Maybe
Foreign
Florida.
country.
I don't know. Florida's the worst.
Florida is
Just kidding.
a foreign
I
country.
love everyone that's listening from Florida.
Nah, even Floridians are like, nah, we get it. We get it.
This is the worst. Okay, so she's on vacation somewhere with her friends. They get kidnapped, and then like SEAL Team 6 or something has to come in. And there's like 4 guys, and they're like...
And the only way to save her is to make toast.
No! You immediately jumped to that.
I mean, I feel like you're...
Well,
okay.
maybe her friend dies or something.
Oh.
It could be like really sad. Or no. So her friend doesn't die. So this team like saves them, but they can't get out of the country yet. And maybe there could be like a team of 10 or maybe a team of 8. And then 4 of them go with her friend and 4 of them, like they kind of have this bond that they have to like try and get out of this country. And like they kind of all bond together. I don't know.
I have no idea what you're saying.
I don't know.
She's in Ibiza, gets kidnapped, and then law enforcement comes and save her, and somehow they bond.
Well, maybe they could be werewolves. Like
you are jumping all over the place.
It's my book. I
is
can
your
read
book.
it.
Let's establish the exposition first.
I don't know what that is.
Exposition? It's the beginning of a story.
I know.
Who-
Well, that's why I'm saying
who, what,
I
where?
literally just like made this up. That could be a good book. Werewolves. If there is a book like that already like out there, please let me know. I might read it. It's a maybe. So yeah, that's kind of like all I wanted to really say about reverse harems. Like, would you rather have a reverse harem or an age gap romance book? Like, which one would you rather read?
Age gap romance.
Really?
Long shot. Age gap romance.
That's fair. That's very fair. Me too. This is not a trope that I reach for very often. But you know, some people do. Some people, it's like their very favorite.
Some people like it.
I again
each their
just
own.
really like enemies to lovers. I just really like that because there's just so much tension in there that I'm like, this is it. Like,
Yeah, it's okay.
so anyways, again, those recommendations are going to be down below in the show notes, in like the caption, just wherever you see all of that. But yeah, I hope, I mean, you might go and look for some reverse harem romances. I don't know. You do
If
whatever
you are
need
interested
to.
in the reverse harem genre, Tav gave you some good
I did.
recommendations of where to start.
And you can always recommend to me reverse harem if you're like, oh, those books don't do like the trope justice. Read these ones. I will. I really will. If like people give me recommendations, I will read it.
She will.
I might not finish it, but I will attempt it.
She'll give it a shot.
I will, because my mind is open. I am willing to read whatever. I just can't promise I will finish. So it's fine. But anyways, I'm grateful for you guys. I know that there's like quite a lot of books coming out in the next couple weeks. I know we have a big one from Jennifer Armentrout. And then we have like the Fourth Wing, like the second book coming out on the 7th of November. So quite a few books coming out. So definitely stay tuned to like YouTube, to all the social medias to keep updated on everything. And yeah, if, again, JR, remember, we want people to go to our YouTube.
Yeah, go to the YouTube.
And see what we look like. Just kidding.
Go to YouTube. Look at this beard.
The beard.
It's-
Anyways, very grateful for you guys, and we will talk to you next week.
Bye.